Ladies and gentlemen, Unity has officially posted a letter that is explaining in great detail what their new monetization plan is going to be after the disastrous one they tried to implement come January 2024. In this letter, there was a lot of positivity in terms of the direction they are now going to head, but the problem still remains as to whether developers want to continue doing business with them after shattering the trust that has been established for years on top of years. So we're going to go over this in full and compare the differences, and so that everyone can be on the same page as to what's changing, what remains the same. And then of course, we're going to give my thoughts as to what I think about this entire situation. As I said, I was fascinated about it all. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the letter says, to our community, I'm Mark Witten, and I lead Unity Create, which includes the Unity engine and editor teams. I want to start this with, I am sorry, period. We should have spoken with more of you, and we should have incorporated more of your feedback before announcing our new runtime fee policy. That is the charge per installation policy. Our goal with this policy is to ensure we can continue to support you today and tomorrow and keep deeply investing in our game engine. You are what makes Unity great, and we know we need to listen and work hard to earn your trust. We have heard your concerns, and we are making changes in the policy we announced to address them. Our Unity personal plan will remain free, and there will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. I'm going to go over the details. Let's get through this, and then we'll come back and go over the specifics and the important things to, go over. We will be increasing the cap from $100,000 to $200,000, and we will remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen. No game with less than 1 million in trailing 12-month revenue will be subject to the fee. For those creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, we are also making changes based on your feedback. The runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next LTS version of Unity. I think that means long-term service. Long-term service version of Unity shipping in 2024 and beyond. Your games that are currently shipped and the projects you are currently working on will not be included unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. We will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you are using as long as you keep using that version. For games that are subject to the runtime fee, we are giving you a choice of either a 2.5% revenue share or the calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. Both of these numbers are self-reported from data you already have available. You will always be billed the lesser amount. We want to continue to build the best engine for creators. We truly love this industry, and you are the reason why. I'd like to invite you to join me for a live fireside chat. This is past tense, hosted by Jason Wyman today at 4 p.m. ET, 1 p.m. PT. You can click on this link and it'll take you directly to the hour-long chat that's already been held, answering a plethora of questions by developers, I'm sure, where I will do my best to answer your questions. In the meantime, here are some more details. Okay, so let's go back to the first part that I want to cover. It says our Unity plan will remain free and there will be no runtime fee for games built on Unity Personal. This is important to establish because you want to know the package you're using and you want to know the intricate depth of each package to ensure that you're going to continue using it for free or you're going to start paying money. They said we'll be increasing the cap from 100,000 to 200,000, and we'll remove the requirement to use the Made with Unity splash screen. I don't know what Made with Unity splash screen is. I assume it's something you would know as a developer once you buy the package, but that's not something I know. I didn't see any of that. But the $100,000 to $200,000 increase, they were already planning on increasing the 200 grand with the previous package. However, they were also throwing in the runtime fee policy in addition to that. So now they're just still going to increase the cap to 200 grand. And I want to be clear here. The reason this is a overall positive is because the personal plan is completely free, right? So if you made over 100 grand previously, they were going to start charging you, or they were going to force you to upgrade to the Unity Pro package. But now they're saying you have to make 200 grand in order for it to not be free anymore. And now you have to upgrade to the Personal Pro package, as I understand it. So they gave you an extra 100 grand of leeway room for you to be good. And this is clearly for students and people who are just getting into developing, aka they're labeled as hobbyists. Students and hobbyists obviously aren't going to be making a lot of money, but once they start making 200 grand, essentially what this business plan is saying is this is no longer a charity for you. It's time for you to start paying something. And that's when they would force that personal plan person who is no longer eligible for the personal plan to start upgrading to the pro plan, which is $2,000 per year per seat in the development team. So you start paying that now that you're making 200 grand or more. That's pretty much how that works. And that's important to establish, right? So the way I understand it is if you're on a Unity personal plan, you're good to go until you make 200 grand, and then you eventually have to start paying a yearly service fee because you now have to go to the pro package. And the pro package is now, the new threshold is now going to be $1 million. And then now you don't have to pay anything up until that $1 million threshold. Now, finally, once you start making $1 million, that's when you're going to be subject to the runtime fee. Now, that's the next thing I want to make sure we go over as well. But before we get to that, they also mentioned that for those creators on Unity Pro and Unity Enterprise, we're also making changes to those packages based on your feedback. So they didn't provide any details to that. They just generalized it. So who knows what those changes are going to be? We'll have to wait and see when they upgrade that or provide the new monetization plan with great detail. But until then, they're making changes. That's all we know to Pro and Unity Enterprise. Now, the next thing that's important to establish is the runtime fee policy will only apply beginning with the next long-term service version of Unity shipping in 2024 and beyond. So they are already saying in the previous package that they weren't going to start it until January of 2024. So nothing has changed here on that regard. They're still only going to start it in January of 2024. But the important thing is the games that are currently shipped and the projects that are currently being worked on will not be included in this. So the retroactively ordeal has been completely obliterated, and even better, even projects that people are currently working on in real time will also not be hit with this runtime fee as well. So they're basically going to put that as water under the bridge, which is the best way to conduct that kind of business practice, especially considering that they tried to do everything right now. You know what I mean? So unless you choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity is the next thing I want to talk about, because it says they won't be charged for any of this stuff unless they choose to upgrade them to this new version of Unity. Now, I do find that one interesting because it says unless they choose to upgrade, right? But once you hit certain thresholds based on their monetization plan, you have to upgrade. So that one there is a bit tricky, you know? If you, for example, as I said earlier, if you're a personal plan user and you make over 200 grand, you're gonna have to upgrade to the pro package, as I understand it. And if you upgrade to the pro package and the pro package is now using this runtime fee, well, you're gonna have to use it eventually anyway, right? But don't, jump out your seat just yet. They did provide the good news down below, which is a much better rate than what they were trying to do. We will make sure that you can stay on the terms applicable for the version of Unity editor you're using as long as you keep using that version. It's the same confusion for me because, like I said, you have to be eligible by making certain money underneath the thresholds they provided. So that's a bit tricky. But for games that are subject to the runtime fee, we are giving you a choice of either a 2.5% revenue share or calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. So now the way they're running their monetization plan is based off your money you are making and not off the installment fees, as I understand it, because it says revenue share. So if it's a revenue share, they're doing their model or their monetization plan just like Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine takes 5% of the revenue you make after you make over $1 million. And the way they're doing it is now 2.5%, which is a half of Unreal Engine's monetization. But Unreal Engine doesn't have a yearly subscription fee attached to their 5%. It's just their 5%, right? So they have the 2.5% revenue share plus the subscription. All right. So although this is a much better number than what they were trying to do previously, which was 20% of your installation, which is way worse than 2.5%. I'm talking like 10 times worse. Overall, whatever business they were conducting with the developers, you're paying more than what you were previously without a shadow of a doubt. That 2.5% was just not there prior to this. It's now there, so you're not going to pay that. And I'm going to give my thoughts on this in particular because I'm not opposed to this. I really am not. And I'll give my reasoning why soon. But let's get back to this. The next part says, or calculated amount based on the number of new people engaging with your game each month. So this is a customized plan for each developer, depending on the revenue and the business that they are running. So for instance, if you're a developer who's making $3 million a year, you have 30 million downloads, you're going to receive a different, it's like paying taxes. That's the best way to put it. You're in a different tax bracket based off of the business you're doing, the profit margins you have with the games you're creating. And I actually like that option the best, because if you just choose one percentage, that is a one size fits all percentage for all developers, you're not going to, that's like basically giving the same exact percentage to taxpayers across all spans of income. It just doesn't make sense. You have to treat it on a case by case basis. That is the best way to establish a fair number for each individual developer. So I like that better than the 2.5% revenue share, but the 2.5% revenue share can be very enticing for a number of developers out there who aren't making a ridiculous amount of money, right? Because the more money you make, the more that 2.5% number is going to grow. Anyways, continuing on, both of these numbers are self-reported from data you already have available. Again, this is just like doing your taxes. You will always be billed the lesser amount. We want to continue. Is that pretty much everything? I already read all that. Yeah, that's everything. So with all of this being established, there's something that I feel like people aren't talking about, and it's the fact that Unity, if you go and look at their financials, they are in the hole on cash flow, negative $130 million in the hole line. They have no cash flow on hand. Their diluted net income is a negative $1 billion, which means their stock value is also negative right now. They are pretty much one of the most prevalent gaming engine companies that developers come to today, and their business model is failing. Their monetization plan is tanking the business as a whole, even despite them being a very prevalent company that people go to. It's one of the best companies in the business, actually. So what this tells you, or what this tells me, is that the developers actually had it too good with the price they had, and they did need to make some price changes, aka price increases. As a company, your job is to make a profit. That's also enticing to the consumer or the person you're doing business with. That's freaking priority number one, right? And they weren't making any money. So they did need to make the price increase. No, 100%. And I do like this, what I'm looking at. I don't like the way they went about it with the CEO that came in from EA. Now, his job was to come in to make money. All right. There's no doubt about it. John's job is to come in and make money, and that's it. But he fucked up. He went about it in the absolute worst way possible. One of the fundamentals of business is if you want to make changes, you do it little at a time, like in very small increments that are very negligible and not noticeable in any way, shape, or form. So you make these increases over X amount of years. Brother came in and tried to, aim for the stars and land on the moon. He just said, yeah, y'all are not paying anything right now, but now you're paying $300,000. Now you're paying $50 million. And so that was the biggest issue at hand with a lot of people. But this right here, adding in a bit of a small percentage so that because the thing is, they have the advantage of volume, right? They have the big advantage of volume. So many people are coming to them to use their gaming engine to make video games. So even a very small increase charging these developers that is affordable to every developer, mind you, is going to make a big difference in a profit margin because they have such a massive amount of volume of business going on. So if they only charge 1%, but there's a million developers coming to them, that 1% is a massive increase in profit, if that makes sense. So at the end of the day, I actually like this new monetization plan. It's a much more friendly monetization plan. And anybody who's complaining about this is a developer that probably had it too good and doesn't understand the intricacies of how business actually works. You got to bring in a profit. If they're failing, they're losing money, you got to change up the monetization plan 110%. But now the question that leaves to be, answered is, are developers going to stay with them even though this is much better than what they tried to do? Because at the end of the day, they are paying a little bit more money, even albeit fair. They're paying more money than they were originally doing. The question needs to be answered is, how many developers are going to leave and how many developers are going to stay? Because the interesting thing is, people can say all day long, oh, their trust is shattered, they're not going to do this. Yeah, some people are going to shoot themselves in the foot just to harm the developer because they're pissed off, right? And I understand it. Rightfully so, they should be pissed off. But there are other people who are more pragmatic and rational who are going to say, yeah, these are conditions I can still work under this company for. Do we have the chance of them risking doing this type of bullshit again? Yeah, we do, but chances are, seeing as how the community treated them, they're probably walking on thin ice for a very long time. So I don't know. It's interesting, right? I'm personally thinking a lot of developers are going to stay than developers leaving because they already understand how to operate the software engine. They're comfortable here, right? Having to start over and go to a completely different company and understand everything all over again, relearn whatever the hell the mechanical depth is to what it is they do. I'm not smart enough to know that, but that shit sucks, right? It's worse than having to pay a little extra money. So I do look forward to seeing how that goes overall. If they wipe the board from leadership to enable trust from people again, maybe that'll work. But at this day, all we can do is make speculative, conclusions and then wait and see. Only time will tell. It's one of those scenarios. But as always, guys, I hope I brought a little bit of value to you guys on this subject matter. I will be keeping up with this because I want to see what happens with Hoyoverse. Obviously, I cover their games right now. I also want to see just how things turn out for them in terms of their stock value, and are they going to come back and make a recovery or what? Who the hell knows? Comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the flip side.